Hello, this is Rogers Redding, National Coordinator of Football Officials. I want to welcome you to Week 11 of our game video reviews. I want to make a couple of points. First of all, I want to commend the referees for doing a better job of giving the dead ball foul signal. I've mentioned this a couple of times as an important part of your communication because you can't always count on being heard over the microphone in all parts of the stadium and the press box. So good job to get the dead ball foul signal. Next, we have a couple of plays on here where the receiver goes out of bounds, comes back in, and we don't get a hat on the ground. Remember, the covering officials just throw his hat whenever a receiver goes out of bounds. Whether he goes out of bounds on his own or is forced out of bounds, we still need to get a hat on the ground. So watch for that in a couple of plays that you'll see today. Okay, let's get right to the plays. On this long pass play, we have a clear case of defensive pass interference. Good job to get this. The defender makes no attempt to play the ball. He just runs right through the receiver. The ball is a little underthrown, and the receiver's trying to get back to it, and the defender doesn't allow him to do that. So this is an obvious intent to impede the receiver from getting to the ball. Good job, defensive pass interference.
Xavier Benson's going to come free hitter in the face of Austin Kendall.
We get a nice call for a horse collar tackle on this pass run play. You can see that the defender grabs the ball carrier right at the collar, immediately snaps him to the ground. This is exactly why the rule was written. This is textbook, follows exactly the wording of the rule. You get a really good replay on this. So good job to get this horse collar tackle.
Foul, horse collar tackle. Number 3, defense. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
I probably sound like a broken record about dead ball officiating, but I'm telling you it is very important, and we get a good job of it on this play. You can see that the player, number 56, well after the play is over, comes in to drive some opponents off the pile. This is the kind of thing that can only lead to trouble later on. So good job to get this as a dead ball personal foul.
After the play, personal foul, late hit. Offense, number 56. 15-yard penalty. The down counts. Fourth down.
This is good concentration and good alert to get this offensive pass interference foul. You can see that the receiver to the right side of the offensive formation, number 11, crosses into the secondary and throws a block on at least one player, even maybe gets a second player, and then the receiver cuts off that block to catch the pass. So good job, offensive pass interference.
Pass interference. Offense number 11. 15-yard penalty. Repeat second down.
Here's a punt play where we really get a good spot near the goal line. You can see that a player of the kicking team comes down and tries to possess the ball. In fact, does possess the ball. And of course, that means the ball is immediately dead. The fact that he flips it back after that doesn't make any difference. So the covering officials do a good job of getting this spot right because the ball is dead as soon as the kicking team player recovers it. And that's right at about the 2-yard line. So good work on this punt play. Good call on this holding foul on this running play. You can see that the offensive player grabs and restricts the defender right at the point of attack. So this is a good call. We missed the enforcement spot pretty badly here, however. Notice that the hold takes place at about the minus 30-yard line. You can say the minus 31. But notice that the succeeding spot is at the minus 29-yard line when it should have been at about the minus 20. So we missed the succeeding spot by about 9 yards. This is pretty serious. We need to pay more attention to where the fouls are and put our flag at the spot of the foul so that the referee has a clear picture of where to enforce the penalty.
Finally got to the edge
number
there.
85. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down.
We have a few things to look at on this play. First of all, we missed a bad face mask foul right after the receiver catches the ball. We should have had a flag down for that. And then notice at about the 25-yard line, a teammate of the kick returner could easily have committed a foul for an illegal blindside block, but it just sort of screens the defender, makes him break his stride without making a block at all, and it's just as effective as if he'd blown him up. So this is an excellent example of a player avoiding a foul for an illegal blindside block and still preventing the defender from making the tackle. Finally, I want to commend the referee and the center judge for their work in getting to the goal line on this long play. So we missed a face mask foul. A player passes up an opportunity for an illegal blindside block, and good job by the referee and the center judge on getting to the goal line. This is a really good alert to get this defensive holding foul. This is sometimes referred to as a pull and shoot. You can see that number 9 on the defensive line on this field goal play grabs the offensive player and pulls him aside to allow his teammate to get through the gap a little easier. So good job to get this as a defensive holding foul. Good work to be alert to this because this is unusual. We don't see this very often. So nice work to be alert to this foul.
Holding. Defense. Number 9. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay 4th down.
Here we have a good example of what we call the momentum rule on this kickoff play. You can see that the receiver does not make a fair catch signal. He actually catches the ball at about the 1-yard line. His momentum carries him into the end zone where he downs the ball. So this is signaled first as a touchback, then it goes to review, and the review determines that this, in fact, is a momentum rule. That is the correct call. So this is neither a safety nor a touchback. This is a special case that allows the receiving team to have the ball at the spot where the player actually caught it, given that his momentum carried him into the end zone. He didn't take it in the end zone on his own. His momentum carried him in there where he downed the ball, and so that is the correct call. So nice work by the replay official to get this as the momentum rule.
Coming back to the 1.
After further review, the receiver caught the ball at the 1-yard line. His momentum took him into the end zone. Therefore, the ball be placed at the 1-yard line, 1st and 10.
We have a foul for roughing the passer on this play. Good job by the referee to get this. You can see this on the line feed a little bit, and we get a really good replay of this. Notice that the defender takes a couple of steps. The ball is clearly gone. He takes a couple of steps, drives into the passer, and takes him to the ground. So good job to get this foul for roughing the passer.
Passer. Defense number 12. 15-yard penalty. Automatic 1st down.
We get a flag for defensive pass interference on this long pass play, but then for some reason we pick up the flag. Now remember, the standard for pass interference is that there's a foul if there is an obvious intent to impede the receiver from getting to the ball. We have that here. This is very obviously a pass interference foul. We should have stayed with the flag on the field. Now, I don't know what the thinking was to wave this flag off, but it should have stayed on the ground, and we should have stayed with the call, defensive pass interference.
There is no foul. Defensive pass interference. 2nd down.
Here's an example of a play that I mentioned in the intro, where when a pass receiver steps out of bounds and comes back in to catch a pass, the covering official needs to throw his hat. That indicates that the player's gone out of bounds. Now, this should happen whether he is forced out of bounds or goes out of bounds on his own. In other words, the throwing of the hat simply indicates that he went out of bounds, not whether he was forced out or went out on his own. In this case, the player steps out of bounds with his right foot. He reestablishes with the left foot before touching the ball, and so we have a case of illegal touching. There's also good communication among the crew members on this. First, the ruling is an incomplete pass, and then the officials talk about it and correctly decide that it's a case of illegal touching. We eventually get it right, but the point I want to make is get that hat on the ground because that indicates that the player's gone out of bounds.
And does he control?
SMU.
Good call.
Player went out of bounds, came back in, and was the first to touch. Lost it down, the spot. Lost it down the previous spot. 4th down.
Correct.
Here we have a very tight pass play at the sideline where the receiver steps out of bounds, comes back in, and apparently reestablishes himself before catching the ball. The question is whether or not he was forced out of bounds by the action of the defender. The play, of course, goes to review, so let's talk about what instant replay can do with this. When the ruling on the field was that the player was forced out of bounds, as was the case here, the only thing instant replay can look at is whether or not there actually was contact. That is to say, replay can say yes there was or no there was not contact. What replay cannot do is determine the severity of the contact. That is to say, they can't determine whether the contact actually caused the player to go out of bounds. But if there's contact, then replay can have nothing to say about this play. Now, it would have been very helpful if the referee had included as a part of his announcement that the ruling on the field was that the player was forced out of bounds. That's not mentioned in the announcement, and so therefore it's a little bit confusing as to what actually happened on the play. Casebook play number 64 is relevant here. It's not identical, but it does talk about the fact that a replay can only look at whether or not there is contact, but cannot review the severity of the contact as to whether or not the contact actually caused the player to go out of bounds. The other thing that's missing is that the official covering the play does not drop his hat to indicate that the receiver went out of bounds. We need to do a better job of this. When a receiver goes out of bounds, we need to have the hat dropped whether he's forced out of bounds or not. The hat dropped indicates that he went out of bounds. Whether he was forced out or went out on his own is a separate issue. But we've got to get the hat down to indicate that he does go out of bounds.
Video to review. The ruling on the field of the catch for a first down is confirmed.
Here we have a series of dead ball personal fouls. It starts with a player who tackles the ball carrier, stops his forward progress, and then lifts him up and just slams him into the ground. And that, of course, leads to retaliation and several more flags for dead ball personal fouls. And the crew does a nice job of getting this situation under control very quickly. Two things to say about this. First of all, it would be legitimate to disqualify the player. This is a flagrant personal foul. It is one that could lead to injury, so the crew would have been perfectly justified in disqualifying this player from the game. Secondly, this player should have also been charged with unsportsmanlike conduct. This is a foul that occurs well after the play is over. It's not part of the continuing action because the ball had been dead for some time. So this should have been a counter for unsportsmanlike conduct against the player who slammed the ball carrier into the ground.
There were multiple fouls on the play. All after the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense number 24 for slamming the ball carrier. Also after the play, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense number 26 came onto the field from the sideline. That's his first unsportsmanlike foul. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, offense number 79. That's his first. Those fouls all offset. It's third down.
On this kickoff, we have a block in the back. Good job to get this. Now, you never want to really anticipate a foul, but when they get in chase mode like this, your antenna should really go up because the likelihood of some kind of block in the back or some kind of other foul is very, very high. So good job to get this block in the back. You can see it around the 25-yard line is where it starts, and the block continues on toward the 20. So good job to get this block in the back.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Return team number 7. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down, Penn State.